Team, here we are, another episode. This is a recap of our hunt. So this is day 2 of the hunt that I did just recently with my friend Lawrence Arnold. So it's Lawrence and I talking just around the campfire, which is actually really cool. I stupidly forgot to take one very important cord, which was the power cord for the Zoom H6, which means that the quality of the sound is done on the iPhone. So it's all right. It's still very listenable, but it's not as good a quality as what this is right now. So just bear with us with that one. There's also a Jenny going in the background as that was our power source, so keeping the lights on. So make sure that, that you'll get used to the hum, I'm sure, that little buzz in the background. But it is very worthwhile to listen to because it kind of, I guess, gives you a lot of detail on day 1 and day 2 of our hunt. And there's quite a contrast between the two of what kind of went down. And the first 2 days were awesome. We said at the end of that one that we would do a part 2 if day 3 was eventful. And so I'm going to give you a quick heads up that day 3 was very eventful, and there will be a part 2 coming to you guys hopefully next week. We have not recorded it yet, but it's definitely going to be done. So, team, thank you very much for joining back in. Thank you to everyone who's been reaching out and who have been giving me a lot of support around the goats I successfully killed on this hunt. And to be honest, they've been freaking delicious. I'm going to actually do up a little video on the goat curry that I've been doing. So that will come all within due time. Things have just been a little busy in my life at the moment. And so I'll get to it when I get to it. So keep patient with that. But guys, thank you so much for tuning back in. If you do have any questions about this hunt, feel free to reach out to me, as always, at becomingabowhunter.com or Maddie at becomingabowhunter.com for an email, or, of course, on Instagram and Facebook at becomingabowhunter.podcast. Thanks heaps, team. Enjoy the show. Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Maddie, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting. All right, bow hunters, welcome back. We are coming at you from our own little hunting camp. We're here in New South Wales, northern New South Wales, a little hunting property. I've got Lawrence Arnold with me. Lawrence, welcome.
G'day, how you doing?
Good, dude. So we've had a fun few days so far. We've just ended day 2 of our hunt. We've got a 3-day hunt. It's kind of like a 2.5-day hunt, I guess, depending on what time we can get away tomorrow. Yep. I'm sure the animals will keep us going longer than we probably should, but that's just hunting, right?
Yeah, man, if it's anything like the last 2 days, I imagine it's going to be busy tomorrow.
So, I mean, we had an incredible day 1. We really had no idea what we were coming into. We just got told, hey, there's some goats here. Occasionally there's some fallow. You might see a pig here or there. And so we kind of came in and we watched the goats walk down the hill and we were blown away by the continuous amount of goats that kept walking down the hills and the gullies and the different gorges all around. And throughout the day, we probably saw like 50 plus goats.
It seemed like there was a new mob every sort of 50, 100 metres, more or less.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy. So, but I mean, within saying that, it's not that we were hitting them every 50 to 100 metres. Like, with the way that the creek bends and bits and pieces, like they were pretty much sitting in around this creek, and the way that the creek bends were kind of, you'd walk a fair way and there's pretty high grass, and you'd hit the high grass and all of a sudden 3 goats would pop out of the high grass and sprint off.
Yeah. Very close too, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, before we get into it, how long have you been bow hunting for?
About 2 years now.
2 years. I mean, these are all answers that I know because we've talked about it a lot. We've had a lot of good chats over the last few days. But for you, you're a Brizzy boy.
Yep.
And you don't have any private access to properties.
No.
So your game plan has been?
State Forest so far. Got the I licence and been heading on down to New South Wales, hitting up a few forests. Mostly just one that I hit a fair bit, but just trying to get in amongst it down there.
Which makes sense, I think, because once you kind of like finding a new location, you then have to go and figure out where everything is.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long did it kind of take you to play out and pattern out the state forest you've been hitting?
Look, I wouldn't say I've patterned it fully. They seem to do something different every time. But so there's mostly just goats down there. There's a few pigs. I've not taken a pig out there yet, but had two goats. Took me about 5 trips, I think, before I got one. Mm-hmm. I've done about 12, 15 now. And yeah, man, they're just doing something different every single time.
Yeah.
It was good. I chatted to another guy online who's been on your podcast before, James Doontis, and he gave me a bit of advice about how to go about looking for them and how to pattern them a little bit and find what they need, like their feeding areas and the water and all that kind of thing, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, and obviously I think it does depend a lot on landscape, and we were kind of talking over the stuff that he was telling you regarding the goats, and it's definitely a different layout here just because of the way that the land lays. They've got like probably a good 800 metre trek down into where the water is, and that's kind of what they're doing every day here. At least we don't actually know where they're bedding up. We just know they're up in the mountains somewhere where we can see them walking down from.
Yeah, they seem to start up on the tops and work their way down into the gully during the day and feed through there. But I mean, we've seen them all over the place, all over the shop, really.
Yeah, we really have. And I mean, we've been kind of blown away because there's been so many, like we said before, but also there's been some fallow around, and we had quite a few different opportunities on fallow. But what we'd kind of love to do, I think, is talk through day 1 and day 2. So we've had a lot of different stalk opportunities, and I think we're going to be honest, be kind of pulling each other up and probably saying, no, that didn't happen. It was like this, or this is how it was.
Mate, it was my angle. It was a blur for the most part.
Yeah, to be honest, it really has been. So I mean, we got here really early. It was about probably 5:15 on day 1, so yesterday, and we pulled up and we kind of just unpacked a few things, got all of our hunting gear ready, grabbed our camo, made sure that we were set and ready, and by that time it was probably, what would have been, like 6:30?
Yeah, 6:30, maybe 7 by the time we got out, but I think it took us all 15 minutes before we heard the first bleat.
Yeah, so we hadn't seen any goats or anything. We just knew that they were kind of hanging out in the river, which is just in front of us. So we literally just walked down and around the bend, and then all of a sudden, and we're like, no way, that's just there. And so we kind of walked around a bit, and based on Lawrence's experience with goats, like a lot of it, I was turning to you, I'm like, what do we do? Where do we go?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, like, it took us a while to actually find the first set of goats. We kind of saw them coming across, and we were just kind of waiting for them to feed to us. But unfortunately, they kind of spotted us, and this nanny just spat at us for fucking, what was that, like a good 15, 20 minutes before she ran off.
Yeah, the good old-fashioned sneeze.
Yeah, and so we, I don't know, we kind of went in and out and in and out and in and out a fair few times to try and get to that mob, and it just never worked. She pretty much just sneezed at us for, it was like half hour at least.
Yeah, a fair while.
And we just thought we'd kind of blown all the experiences based on what you've previously dealt with, right? Like the way that the goats acted in the state forest.
Well, I mean, usually I'm lucky if I hear a bleat, and definitely to see them and to be able to get onto them, I thought, oh shit, this is our shot. We've actually hit it pretty early, and I thought we better get stuck in. And when we missed the first one, I'm like, oh shit, all right, there we go. I guess there'll be more, but yeah, nothing I think prepared me for just how many sort of opportunities we were going to get today.
And so what we, like, from there, when we kind of stuffed that experience, and they pretty much went away from us and the wind was still in our face. So we just thought, hey, we're just going to have to keep kind of getting on this mob. So we just kind of kept going along, and we got to this one point where we'd just lost them, but we could hear goats down the valley kind of all around us.
Yep.
And then it got to this point where I think we actually spotted those. We spotted goats that were on the other side of the river, and we also spotted some fallow that were on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
And so that was then, we had to make a new game plan to get around, because we didn't know if there was any still on our side or not, or if there were, we couldn't see them. So there was no point in kind of sticking around.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? Like, we were constantly looking across the river, seeing game, and then we'd cross the river, and then they'd be back on the other side, and we were sort of zigzagging back and forth. But
I think, to be honest, like, for me, definitely for the start of the hunt, it was just trying to get used to the terrain. Like, there's small rocks everywhere. There's shit you could trip on constantly. The grass is typically very small, like very, very short. But there's a lot of little shrubs, and all of the shrubs are prickly as fuck. And so they catch onto your clothing wherever you are. There's no being quiet, just like brushing through, through bushes at all. It just it constantly hits you.
Yeah, it is pretty thick, isn't it? And yeah, there's just a lot of up and down, a lot of sliding up and down cliff faces and things like that. Not as much flat open as maybe you would have thought. But.
And so yesterday, I feel like we were trying to be incredibly quiet and incredibly stealthful. And so when we first saw those deer and we first saw the goats across the river, we started to make our way down the mountain, and we were just being so careful the whole way down. And it was to the extent that when we got down the bottom, it was noisy, but we were like, oh, I think we did all right. Like, that was a pretty good little trek down. And it turned out that we hadn't scared anything off yet, which was nice. So we did a little walk around. We had to pretty much trek back, what have it been, like maybe 400 to 600 meters?
Yeah, around about that. Back up the river to try and find a place to cross.
Yeah. And so we found like this little rock crossing. And so the rocks, being all small little rocks, every time you step on them, they'd just fucking clink and clank and bang.
So this is when we saw the fallow, wasn't it?
Yeah, like before. Yeah, so we saw the fallow, walked down, and then we went around to get over to where they were.
Yeah, to try and get into them, yeah.
Yeah. And so we kind of actually misjudged, and we thought that we had I thought we had an extra 2 little duck-ins to go. So the way that the river kind of goes, it's almost like, I don't know, what would you say? It's almost like a centipede, like it kind of bubbles out and bubbles back in.
Yeah, sort of goes skinny and fat at certain times. And we had picked a gully on the other opposite side and sort of used that as a landmark and thought, oh, when we get to that gully, we should slow down. And we ended up just losing track of it. And before you knew it, bang, there's 5 fallow does pop up at about, how far would you say, 50?
Yeah, probably, because we were just walking through that long grass. So it's like long reeds, really. It's probably been the noisiest stuff that we've had to deal with.
Yeah.
Apart from like some of the big bushes that you just have to force your way through. But outside of that, like this long grass, it's kind of like, what would it be? It's almost like a lemongrass, but it's not lemongrass.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think it's love grass. I think it's what it's called, but I'm not too sure.
And you brush through it, and it just makes the biggest noise. And yeah, we were just kind of walking through it thinking that we still had another little point to get around, and they all just popped up, and you pretty much, I think did you already have an arrow knocked, or you just pretty much knocked it and went for them?
So, all right, so this is when they sort of popped up on the right, and they were about sort of 50 away, and yeah, see, we had a bit of an agreement that you hadn't shot a goat yet.
Yeah.
And I hadn't got a deer. So we thought, well, if we see a goat, that's Maddie's, and if we get a deer, I'll have a crack. And so I'd knocked an arrow, and I was looking over to the right and being sort of focused in on them and seeing if I could get a shot away. And then before you know it, there's 2 little goats pop up
walking down as well. And so what I was trying to do is give you the insights. Like I was saying when to walk and when not to, because they only moved like probably 30 meters and sat up on the hill, and they were just kind of looking down at us, but not really that phased. And so you started going up after them. I had good view of them, and I was saying, hey, you can move now, and no, stop. They're stopped and they're looking. And that took a fair while. And then all of a sudden this goat came down. Like, this goat's going to come and spoil it. She's going to come and sneeze at you and ruin this whole hunt. So I started moving over towards her. I was like, maybe I could either take the attention away, or if I could get a quick shot on her and stop her from coming across to you. And by that stage, by the time I'd kind of moved around, the deer had eventually decided to get out of there.
Yep, they moved on up the hill.
I think that's what scared the goat out, and she bailed up the hill as well.
Yep, gave a sneeze and run off.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh, what do we do? There's a whole heap of goats yelling just down the street. We'll keep walking.
Yep.
So I went for a little trek down. I can't really remember. Is this when I had my shot?
No, so we walked probably another 50 metres, maybe 100.
Yep.
And then we came across, it might have been the same fallow across the hill, or it might have been another mob. And this is when sort of they popped up just on the right there. And they were probably, 30, 40 maybe. But they were well and truly aware of us, and sort of that's when I had the arrow on the string. And so I was looking over there to the right, and then that's when those 2 goats came up from the river. And they probably popped up in front of us probably 20 yards, maybe 25.
Ah, yep.
And so that's when...
That's right.
Yeah, I had to do a big old swing, try not to hit you with an arrow, and go from sort of 180 degrees, looking over to my right, swing over, and thought, oh shit, I better try and nail one of these goats. And As it happens when you rush a shot, went ahead and had a good old clean fashion miss.
Yeah. And the morale was pretty low.
Yeah.
Straight up, to be honest. But all because it was a very rush shot. Like you didn't range find, you didn't do anything like that. And
Yep.
it's kind of those heat of the moment mistakes that happen. And what happened for next was I was very eager to keep moving because there was goats just yelling just down the street, like I said. So I'm like, fuck it, let's just keep moving.
Yep.
I think we were looking for your arrow for a bit, and then we just kind of left it. We were like, nah, stuff it, let's keep moving. So I actually ducked off and went ahead a little bit because you were kind of looking for your arrow a little bit more than I was. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was selfish of me or not.
No, that's fine. Look, I heard it hit a rock, so there wasn't much of
I was pretty sure it kind of shattered or it bounced pretty high away. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for this goat around the corner. And I got around and once again hit some of that grass with some rocks up reasonably high. Mm-hmm. And it was like I was actually looking down at the next bend because that's where the noise was coming from. And I spooked probably 4 of them out of their bed. And they popped up and they just started one jumped up and just kind of sneezed. And I had a big patch of grass right in front of me. So I was able to knock an arrow. I was able to draw back and take a few steps forward. And then she moved on, so I popped my head up and she moved on. And then the next little nanny came up and she stood up on me and up on top of these rocks. And I was like, oh, she's probably 30. Like, I'm pretty sure she's 30. So I aimed just above her elbow, like chucked it. Pretty much I was aiming for the ticker, really. Mm-hmm. That's where I was trying to go for. And I shot and I watched it hit and she just fucking rumbled. It definitely hit her hard.
Yeah, it made a loud smack.
It made a very loud smack. And she just took off and she was shaky as anything. And she took probably 5 steps and stopped. And then they walked up into the bushes. And you came around the bend and I was like, I think it might have been low, but I think it was a good shot. Like I think it was good enough to do the job. And
see,
so
this is where I feel bad because I was cheering. I thought you had it.
Yeah.
It was handshakes, and I'm like, oh, good on you, mate. You got your first one.
And they were sitting off us at it was only like 20 meters, right? They just sat there for ages.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, you should run up and quickly take a shot. Like, you should get around them real quick and take a shot down on them. I'm like, we could have 2 goats on the ground. That'd be great. And then we were probably mucking around for like a good 5 minutes, but we were kind of waiting for the goat to drop, and then we were kind of deciding whether you should go up after her or not. And then I saw her walk back out, and she's just bleeding from her chest, and I think I pretty much just hit all brisket. And realistically, it would have been, I don't know what's happened, whether she's breathing out, so the lungs were short of air, so it just meant that I didn't really hit her well. But this poor goat's just got fucking blood pouring out from, it's knocked her literally just behind her elbow. So rather than up and above what you want it to be, like kind of in the shoulder range, like ideally should be going for double lung or for the heart, it's hit her just behind her elbow. And so it got me straight away. I was like, fuck this poor goat. So I started trekking up the hill to try to get to her. And I'd like kind of get on side on. That was the weirdest thing, right? Like, I would walk up after these goats and they would just kind of mosey off. They weren't scared of me or anything. They were just kind of walking.
Yeah, they were not in a rush, and especially she wasn't. She looked a bit wobbly, but...
She looked real wobbly. So I was like, she's either going to fall soon and maybe I should leave her. Like, I don't know, am I doing the wrong thing by pressuring her right now? But she just kept walking up the hill and I'm like, I got to finish this. Like, my conscience was not good. I have to get this done. So I ran up beside her pretty much and I took another shot once again. I didn't range find again, and I put it on 30 pin. And I was pretty sure it was about accurate. And I smacked her again, smacked the arrow again. And it just shot underneath her. It just missed her. And then it pretty much just became a foot war, like me chasing after them.
Yeah, and fucking Rambo. Sprinting up a hill.
Stormed up the hill, fucking after these goats. I felt so bad, and it got to this point where they were in this really thick shrub, just hammering through, and I was trying to run around to the side of them to get a good shot. And then I saw this road. I'm like, they're going to go for that road. So I ran right down to the road and set up another arrow. I was waiting for them to cross the road, and they never did. So they just kind of buried in. And I lost complete track of them. And so I came back and I found you, and you were blood trailing already.
Yeah, I started at the bottom of the hill and was looking at the blood to see how she had gone. And
you kind of got to me like, look, it's not great blood, to be honest.
No.
it's kind of it was dark red, right?
Dark red and not a lot of it.
Which
so
generally means muscle.
yeah, that's what I think. So if it was lung, it would have been a lighter pink with a bit of sort of froth to it, and it wasn't a gut shot. There was nothing
Gunk
in it.
on it, yeah.
So my understanding is that's just muscle, cardiovascular, like yeah.
And so, unfortunately, she got away from us. We blood trailed for probably, we were probably blood trailing for a good hour and a half,
Yep.
I reckon. And it got to this one point where it just stopped. Like it was probably for a good 50 meters. It was little to none.
Very little. Yeah, we're talking like a pin-sized sort of speck.
But the first lot was a fuck ton, right? There was a lot, and that's what made me think, no, she's definitely going down.
Yeah.
So whether it's coagulated and she's blocked up the things and she's died somewhere else, we don't really know, and probably we'll never find out.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But that was a bit of a sad occurrence, to be honest. So we spent some time trying to find the arrows, and once again the goats were kind of yelling just down, and so I was like, oh well, we can't bury our heads yet. So we've got another few days. So hopefully she pops up tomorrow, or hopefully she dies a comfortable death. So we kind of popped down, and it turned into your turn, which
which was thick and fast, let's say. Got a little bit crazy at some point. So we dropped back down off the hill and sort of got back to the river and started moving back along, and we could see that there were a few sort of in amongst that thick bladed grass under this little tree, and I think by the time we sort of got eyes on them, there were well over a dozen.
Well, we only saw a few really to start with, and then
yeah, that's right.
You the closer you got, the more you saw.
Yeah. So this one fella sort of popped up, fairly young Billy, popped up about 20 meters from me, and I've only just recently switched over to a single pin and still sort of getting used to that whole experience of changing your pin when you actually range and all that kind of stuff. And I drew back. I knew he was at 20, and he sort of skedaddled a few meters up ahead, and I thought, he's gone a little bit. He hasn't gone that far. Maybe about 25, I thought. So I held high and squeezed off a shot, and it felt great until I watched the arrow go into him, and it hit high. I thought for sure it should have clipped the lungs. It wasn't that high, but I definitely hit him. I watched the arrow zip straight through him,
and then it bounced off behind him. So I actually thought it didn't hit because it fucking zipped through him.
Yeah, absolutely blew through him. But I was confident, and when we went back to check later, there was a fair pool of blood right where he was
you were
standing.
so blown away. You're like, I hit him. Like I watched the arrow go through him.
Yep.
Yet he was not phased. He just walked off.
He was not. He looked like he hadn't been touched. I couldn't see any blood on him. I couldn't see him wobbling. I couldn't see any kind of sort of he wasn't limping. There was nothing. So at first I thought, well, fuck, I've missed. I've missed my shot. I thought it had hit, but clearly it hasn't. So I decided rather than chase him, there were more goats right in front of me, and they hadn't quite cottoned on to what was happening yet. So I thought, I'll have another crack. So moved down, slowly stalking in across the river, and got into some billies that were right in front of the grass in front of me, and got into I didn't range it, but it was less than 10 yards. And this first billy sort of starts walking on by me, and I thought, oh, here we go, 10 yards, broadside, perfect shot. And unfortunately, I don't know exactly what happened, but I think I hit the top of a bush or some grass or something like that, and it seemed to have just skipped straight over the top of him. And I chalked that up as my third miss for the day, feeling a little bit deflated. But
then 100 more ghosts just rocked up.
Yeah, basically, they just kept coming. They just didn't stop. And so without moving, I stood perfectly still and put another arrow on the string, and then another billy came in behind him, completely unaware. And this time I took maybe one step forward just to get above that bush, and absolutely smacked him.
Yeah, and you were so stoked, and you're like, quickly, come here. I've got him, it's good. But they all
yeah.
had eyes on me, so I couldn't move. And you're like, come on, come here. I'm like, no, not
See,
yet.
I was trying to tell you to come up and take a shot.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
mate,
no, they were just looking bang at me. Like, what's this guy up to? Like, they must have thought that I was doing all the damage.
Yeah, right.
And so you'd sat down. You're like, yes, this is good. Like, this is the first proper shot that I've had. This is great.
Yep.
And you could just see it was like all of your stress was just gone. All of a sudden, it was great.
Well, after that many misses within, not very much time, I was starting to feel a little bit shaky.
I think the best part of this story is that Lawrence brought 5 arrows in total with him. Because
I was running low on ammo. I think at that point I had 1 arrow left and it had a small game head on it, had a judo head. So that's why I was trying to tell you to come over. I'm like, I can't fucking
can't
shoot
do anything more.
Couldn't shoot one if I wanted to, mate. It's up to you from now.
It's just hilarious. It's just one of those situations where obviously, like, from your past experiences, you coming into the weekend, you're like, if I get 5 shots off this weekend,
Yeah.
I will be over the moon.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, within not even half a day, you've got your
Couple
shots
of hours,
away.
I had 4, and wasn't quite prepared for that.
And so the goats they all started to head off, like they knew something was up, and so they all started to mosey off, and there was some good billies in the background. I'm like, fuck, these guys are decent.
Yeah,
like,
they were, hey.
And I was like, oh, I should go after them. And so we got down, and you're like, I got a billy. I'm like, yes, this is sick. So we strung him up, and we got him out, and we were pretty much in the mindset of we should hang him so we can keep moving. Like, we should hang him in a tree, just make sure it's shady enough. And so what we did is we hung him in a tree that was pretty shady to start with, but by the time we gunned him out, the sun had kind of dropped a bit more, and we realised it was going to be full sunlight on him.
Yep.
So we kind of looked around, and there was this good little tree that's just got shade all day.
Yep.
So we hung it in one of those branches, and then we started heading up after them again because they were getting further and further away. Like, they started to trek off pretty fast, really.
Yeah, they knew something was up.
How long did it take us to gut? Like, that would have been a good half hour, if not more.
Yeah, it took a little while, I think. Neither you or me are particularly experienced
No,
with
exactly.
it. So
Right. It was
rolled
your
the sleeves
third
up
gutting experience?
Yeah, that was my 3rd time. I kind of knew what I was doing, but it just, takes a little while sometimes.
It's not the easiest process if you've never done it, or if you're not doing it every day.
Yeah.
I think once you get the hang of where you should fucking chop and how to get the lungs out properly and how to get the esophagus out and where you should cut their throat to drip them clean and make sure they're not overheating and all that side of things. Like, there's a few things that you need to actually do, and like, some people have their different processes. Like, a lot of people will cut the anus first, whereas many people will cut the guts out first and then leave the anus to last. And I think just because we pretty much went ahead and did a few things, and we're like, oh, hold up, we haven't done this, we haven't done that, or have you found this part yet? And making sure you're not getting the gallbladder and bits and pieces, But
you know what, we worked it out, and I think we did a pretty good job in the end. He ended up pretty clean.
He was really clean,
Real good.
And so once we actually got him hung in that next tree, like, the goats had disappeared a fair bit, and so we kind of trekked off down track after them, and we ended up seeing some more across the river, right? That was when we ran into them, I think.
Yeah, so they had crossed a little bit further up. There was sort of a bit of a rocky
crossing.
Yeah, crossing, and they'd swung over.
And so we jumped across and went after them, and pretty much a lot of the stalks from there, like just getting across the river, they started just to bail out. They heard us coming, so they started bailing up the hills. And I don't know if it was because of time of day as well, or if they were just because they actually heard us, and so they're like, no, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Get to some higher ground, some safer ground. So they ended up getting out, and we saw this white billy. He was just kind of glistening in the sun. And he was kind of standing on this little island that if there was water in the river all the way down, he would have been just on this stranded island, really.
Yeah.
So there's rocks between him and the island, sorry, between him and me. And so I started going after him because it was up to my shot. And so started going after him and just couldn't get there quietly enough. Like, these rocks are just, every other rock that you'd stand on would just slip and fall, or...
Yeah, it was not easy going.
No.
Not at all.
And they end up kind of taking off a little bit. And I'm like, I'm going to back out and go all the way around them here. I think I've got a bit of a ledge there that can give me some clearance. And so I backed out and I just trekked hard. I'm like, I can get after these guys. Meanwhile, they're just watching me the whole time because the ledge was just not big enough at all. And I didn't look back because there was a tree just completely stopping me to them. And so I didn't look back and just used that tree at first, I thought. And then all of a sudden they're staring at me.
Yeah, but you know what was surprising? Like this whole sort of day, I'm quite used to, very pressured goats, skittish goats, and usually I get very, very slow in terms of my stalk. But what amazed me was just you pretty much sprinted at them at various stages.
Yeah.
Like, it was very quick stalks. It didn't take you long to crow's ground at all.
Yeah.
Which was super impressive. I just thought like, oh fuck, he's gonna blow it, and you just didn't. Like you're getting right in very quick.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I was saying to you, I think that could be because of the property I hunt on mainly is very windy, and the wind swirls ridiculously. So when you have an opportunity,
you make it happen.
You got to make it happen.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, because if you stand off, you just get winded.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of partially come from that, but also if I've really started to look at the animal more, and if they're not alert and aware, I just keep going.
Yep.
Kind of thing. Like if I've got something between me and them, even better, because obviously you can make a lot of dead ground there. And yeah, so we did that. We went down and I stuffed that white billy, and they headed up the hills, and we're like, it was probably 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it was getting on in the day then. And
we hadn't eaten breakfast yet.
No.
We hadn't done really much yet, apart from just going down and going for a quick hunt. So
slogging it all.
Yeah,
really.
So we pretty much trekked around, and a lot of the start part, to be honest, we were just trying to find our ground, and we ended up walking a fair bit more than what we needed to, really, and trekking through some pretty thick country, really. And so by the time we got back to the goat, and we're like, look, let's just trek the goat up. We'll have something to eat real quick, and then we'll go back out and we'll see what we can find. And so we started trekking the goat out, and it was a bit of a mission. Like it was probably a good maybe. What do you reckon? 1.5K, 2K?
Yeah, somewhere between 1.5.
But hilly is it's just so crazy hilly.
Yeah,
it's in a gorge. Like it's literally there's like cliff faces at parts.
Just straight uphill.
And we got to this one part where I was pretty sure, I'm like, okay, this is the road that we need to take up to get to the place. And we got up to the top, and it turned out it was not a hill that we had to come up.
No, we had climbed a hill on the opposite face for no fucking reason, but that's all right.
And Lawrence had the goat at that point, and he was just so off it, you could tell. I'm like, oh, sorry, dude. So I think I took the goat soon after that.
Yeah.
And then we trekked down the hill and back up the other side. And we literally, to start with, I was just carrying the goat, the little billy by his horns, and that was working all right. And then I flipped him onto my shoulders eventually, but I flipped him the wrong side, like cut belly down.
Yeah.
Which meant he started leaking blood all over me. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Kind of just off of it. I was like, you take him for a bit. So you took him for a bit, and then you did it the right way from the start of just flipping him up the right way so his belly's up.
Yeah, so the belly facing back behind you so that it's sort of just his side on you. Like, I mean, I got covered in blood, but I haven't worked out a way to avoid that one.
And I think realistically, that's just the ease of doing it, right? It's like, hey, go belly up, just take him on your shoulders. You might get a bit of blood, but it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it just made it so much easier to trek with.
Yeah.
And so you got, I don't know, we got most of the way home, and then I took it back and did probably like the last 600-700 meters or so.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit further, but it was kind of that's like as the crow flies, 600 or 700 meters, I'd say.
Yeah.
But what happens is there's just such thick fucking scrub all over the place that you have to bend and go around rocks and up and down hills and
bush bashing with a goat on your back.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time we got back, we were both pretty cooked, and because we hadn't eaten or done much for the day, we'd done a lot and hadn't eaten, we just got some fuel in. And it pretty much got to like 3:30, I think. So we hung your goat up and we're like, let's just leave him hanging. We'll go back out and we'll come back and we'll skin him off later. And so we started trekking off in a different location because we knew that all the goats had kind of bailed out of the river.
Yeah, they'd sort of gone back up to the tops, I think, at that stage of the day. So.
And I don't know what, I think I said to you, let's go over this way because we'd been told that there was some deer over that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And so we started trekking over. And as we started walking, we got to this fence, like where we knew there was a fence line because there's a whole heap of cattle and some sheep there. And then just all of a sudden off in the distance, we heard a goat. Just meh.
Yep.
And so we walked a few steps and we saw the goat. And I was like, oh, there's a nanny. And then I kept walking. And you're like, aren't you going to go after it?
Yeah, I thought that you were like, you're too good for nannies now.
Yeah, like, oh, it's just a nanny.
Action-packed morning, but...
No, I mean, I'm just going to go around this wood pile and I'll get after it. So I got around the woodpile and pretty much just set a tree up in line with me and the nanny and just fucking powered through. I hammered that. I was like, there's no way this one's getting away from me.
Yeah, that was a very quick approach. It was good. You got right onto it, man.
Yeah, so I hammered in, and then she walked behind this woodpile, and so I used that to my advantage and pretty much sprinted up to the woodpile. Not actually, like a just brisk walk. Got up to the woodpile, and I'm watching her. She'd now got to a new tree line. Watching her, and I'm just kind of focusing on her a whole heap, and I took a step forward and smacked this log with my foot, accidentally.
Yep.
And it just goes, dunk. And then all of a sudden these two goats pop out from the woodpile that I was sitting in, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. So they would have been a good, 4 meters from me, maybe?
Yep, more or less.
If even, and they're just right in the middle of it, and all I can see is her head. There's a young Billy and then this nanny. And all I could see was his head, I think it was. No, it was her head. It definitely was. It was her head, and she's just kind of looking around and eating some. There was like a little tree that was coming through that she started eating, and then I drew back and I just had it. I was holding it, and I'm just waiting for her. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to get a shot. Maybe if she pops her head up, if she pops her feet up, I might get a shot, like a chest shot or something. Or I'm just going to have to wait until they come out, and maybe I might be able to take a few steps and take a shot. And then all of a sudden, he pops his head out from around the bottom of the log. I'm like, yes, we're on. Like, maybe this could be a good shot. And he just stayed there with his head out.
And so you were at full draw for like a good minute already.
Yeah, so I watched the video back. I got a little GoPro video, and it was a minute. And so his head was out and just in the way the whole time. And then all of a sudden, she just came out and she barged straight past him, and she took literally a step, and I went bang and just quickly let go on her. And it had to be that quick because she was just walking. And we saw her run off, and she stumbled straight away. She and just slowed right down. And then they went down to this tree line, which would have been 30 meters from us.
Probably. Yeah, probably not even that far. Right? It's pretty close.
And we just kind of saw the goats just hanging out down there, and we're like, oh, let's just wait. Like, we'll just kind of recoup. And my arrow was literally sticking up, like pretty much. It was on a 45-degree angle or more. Yeah, you just sticking upright.
Shot it straight in front of
you. The shot would have been 6 meters, and I'm like, I'm pretty positive that was a good shot. And so once we kind of calmed down and we're like, okay, this is good, we grabbed the arrow, and there was blood the whole way through. Obviously, it went straight through a goat, but it had some pretty murky stuff on it. I'm like, oh, gut shutter.
Smelling a little bit nasty.
And you're like, does it smell like goat or does it smell like shit? And I'm like, no, it just smells like goat, really.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of looking at it. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's a gut shot. And you're like, oh, yeah, maybe it is, maybe it's not. Like, it should smell a little worse.
Yeah, I thought you hit it on the front leg on the close side.
Yeah.
And that, we're sort of arguing about the shot placement of it. I thought
because of the way she stumbled off, right?
Yeah, she was limping on the front leg, and I thought, oh, well, you definitely smacked her right in the front, but turned out smacked her on the back.
In through the guts.
As they're quartering away.
Straight through and came out through the lungs and popped her. And so we walked down to where the goats kind of were, and we ended up pretty much shooing off another nanny. And we walked down. No, actually, before that, we checked the arrow and we checked for blood, and there was literally no blood around. We're like, oh, I just
not a drop.
My heart sunk. I was like, what the fuck? Just give up, dude. Screw bow hunting. No, it was more so the fact I just felt so guilty for the animal. And so we were like, oh shit. So we're talking about it. And we started walking down. We're like, oh, is that her? We glassed her. I'm like, no, that's a rock. And then we kept walking. And we found like the smallest pin drop of fucking blood. It was like that was it. I'm like, oh no. Like, I just absolutely sunk inside. And we probably took another 3 steps, maybe a bit more, maybe 10 steps. And I was like, dude, that's her on the ground. Like, that's not a rock, that's her. And so we ran up to her, and she was just cooked. She was out. So 30 meters and she dropped. So.
Yeah, pretty much, man, a perfect, like, hard quartering away shot. Just like straight in through the back, behind the ribs, and straight out through the other side. It was a really, really good shot.
So I was pretty pumped on that. We went down and gutted her up, and it, like, her whole insides was just full of muck.
Yeah.
Because of the gut shot, she pretty much is like, it shut all of I think it was the stomach and the intestines maybe.
Yeah, it did stomach, intestines, liver, offside lung.
And so, like, realistically, that's stuff that can spoil your meat, unfortunately. With the acids and whatever else. So I'm intrigued to see how the insides go. I'll probably just end up chucking out her inner side. Like, there's not much meat there anyway.
Yeah, aside from like the tenderloins. Right?
Yeah,
There's not a
exactly,
hell
which
of
I'll
a
probably
lot.
get rid of then. So, I don't know. But yeah, so we ended up getting her and we brought her back and hung her up and, like, we gunned her out there completely.
Mm-hmm.
And then got her back here and strung her up, and then we skinned them both at the same time,
Yeah,
which was great.
it was good.
It was a cool little experience. So, I mean, that's the first animal that I've skinned fully by myself. I've been there while red deer have been skinned before. And, like, I've just watched so many videos. So
Yeah, man, for someone who's never done it before, you did a fucking good job.
thank you. That was literally just from watching videos. Like, I think watching a hell of a lot of YouTube videos,
Yep.
and pretty much from watching it being done on a red deer. So my tactic was pretty much go around the knees. Is it the knees, or would you count that as the ankle joint of the back leg? It's above. It'd be the ankle, wouldn't it? Because you've got your tendon there, like your Achilles, essentially.
So the Achilles is sort of where we popped it through when we hung her.
Yeah,
So,
so
that would
I
be
pretty
her
much went
ankle.
around that. I went completely around that and drew a line on her inner thighs all the way down, and then went straight up her chest. So there's like a Y pretty much on her. And so did that and just started on the back legs and just pretty much knocked all of the fur off around the leg, or like around the ankle. And because of that strip that I had straight down, it means that you can grab onto the fur that you've already pulled, the skin you've already cut back, and you can literally just pull it down.
Yep, peel it like a blanket.
Peel it like a blanket. So you get in and you can just do that, and I pretty much just peeled her whole back off of her, or her whole front off of her, sorry, until you get to her tail.
Yep.
And then you chop on the underside of the tail and just keep pulling, and it just comes straight out. Now I actually went around. I actually cut through the tail in the end, found the joint and cut through.
Yeah, see, because you're not keeping that skin.
No.
So you sort of kind of don't mind if the tail ends up staying inside.
Yeah.
Whereas I was going to keep the fur on this one, so I had to almost how you
cool
peel it
fur.
off the leg, you peel it straight off the tail as well. It sort of comes out like a little bit of a sausage.
Yeah, literally. So you just got like a little leather tail.
Yeah.
And so from there, you just pretty much pull it all the way down. And I actually had a bit of issues when I got to the front legs. It was really tough around there. So I ended up doing the same thing and just cutting down the insides of the front legs and just skinning around and just peeling them up and then just giving her a big old reef and pretty much got it down. But it got to a point where I was pulling and it felt like I was just breaking everything in her. I thought I was going to rip the carcass apart. So
Yeah, it got a bit tough, didn't it?
yeah, so I just got the knife back in and just pretty much scun it. So you just pull a little bit and just hit it off. Like, it's literally just like hitting the fat, where the fat hits the meat. You just give it a little nick with your knife and it just peels off a little bit more.
Just slowly, gently working away at the connective tissue.
Yeah, and so that was great. Like, we both had them scun within, what, like 30 minutes?
Yeah, 30,
Thereabouts.
maybe even
Like,
less. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
too
it might have
bad.
been less, actually, but
We did a fair bit of chin wagging.
we were talking a lot while it happened. And that was day one done. So
Yep.
they're hanging in the coal room, which is great. And so day one, because we were able to be so aggressive on the goats, we had great ambitions and plans for today.
We sure did.
And we were set on going out after some fallow first. So we went off, and the way, like where we're stationed, is literally looking down the river, and behind us there's a whole heap of paddocks. So we're like, let's go up into the paddocks and try to find some fallow deer. And so when we first started driving, because we'd seen so many numbers that first day, I was like, I thought there was meant to be deer here.
We'd been told that there was quite a few fallow around.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
it made me almost impatient, to be honest, to start with. And I was like, are we wasting our time going out after these guys or not? Because we know there's a shitload of goats right in front of us if we go back there.
Yeah.
But we know that they're not coming down anytime soon, so let's just set a time that we should go back if we're not having any luck. And so we went and we kind of found a space that we both agreed would be all right, and we started walking down and had to jump. Oh no, we didn't have to jump fence line. We walked over a hill, and we walked down a hill, over a hill, and we saw our first deer. We're like, oh, great.
Would have been all about 15 minutes walk, I think.
Yeah, if even, right? All with glassing and bits and pieces in between, obviously. So we end up making a game plan to step back, jump the fence, because it's all sheep country fence, which means there's like 6 wires through it,
Yep.
thereabouts. So it's all very close fencing, so you can't really step through it. The best way to do it is to go back, and I mean, obviously, because we're trying not to make any weird noises for the deer. Something like a sound of metal is not that common to them. So we try to trek back a little bit. We jumped the fence, and then we made our way back down to her. And when we got back down to kind of where she was, she'd made a lot of ground. Like, she'd moved across the field incredibly fast.
Yeah, she was definitely on a bit of a mission.
So there was kind of pretty much a gully between us and her. So we got down into the gully and we trekked all the way around the side to where they were. Like she was on a corner pretty much. So we got around to that corner, and then you, being the gentleman you are, said, well, you spotted her, so she's your deer today.
That's how it works.
Yeah. And so I set up to go after her. So I dropped my pack off. I walked down. I just had to get down over past some rocks, and then I dropped my shoes off. And then there was literally like this little dugout road between where you were and where they were. And you were just sitting on a woodpile heap, just waiting. And there was two by this stage. We found another one. They'd kind of partnered up. And they were just both feeding. And so I took my shoes off, and it was freezing, to be honest. Like cold grass, dewy grass, and then started walking. It was very fresh this morning.
Yep.
1 degree or something.
1 degree.
0 degrees,
So,
1 degree.
yeah.
And so I started walking up towards them, and it was just as sunrise was coming through. So I took my first few steps towards them. It was kind of cornflakey, to be honest, like leaves everywhere, and the sun was just beaming on my face, and I couldn't really see as well as I wanted to. And then outside of that, I'm also wearing a GoPro, so it reflects like nothing else. So I had to make sure. I was like, oh, am I risking it too much? Like cornflake grass. And then also cornflake leaves everywhere. This could also shine in their face. The GoPro could shine in their face. It could go incredibly bad. Whereas there's this big old divot between us, and also one of the deer would have had full view of me. So there's this big old divot. So I backed out of where I was and pretty much ran up this divot.
Yeah, sort of like in this washout that sort of had you obscured from view, which was good.
And while I was in there, I found a little castie. It's literally like a 2-year-old castie. It's so cute. Yeah. It's awesome. And I was like, yes, this is going to be good. So I walked up, and I had one's view on me, but she had her bum to me and she was feeding. And then the other one, I had a tree in her way. So I just started walking up, and I just need to get past this one that had the tree and me in between her. I need to get past her view so I could be behind another tree, so I could be nice and close and take my shot. And I started trekking, and it took me, this washout pretty much took me up onto a flat ground. And she was just like the one that would have had eyes on me was feeding, and she was feeding kind of like a 45-degree angle away from me. And so I was like, fuck, I'm going to risk it, and started crawling and took a few little steps. And it was literally like I turned away from her and took a step, and then I turned back and she was looking at me. I was like, shit. So I just stood there, and she just wasn't sure. And she kind of looked at me for a while, then she put her head back down. And I was like, I might be safe here. And then she looked at me straight again. And then the other one caught on to there was something there, and she turned around and started looking at me. She had to move to kind of find me and found me. And then it all just went to shit. They took a little run. And so I was pretty happy with that stalk. And the only issue was that they were, what would we say? She would have been 35, 40?
40 from...
40 from where I was, and I was like, that's not a shot I was very comfortable taking. So hindsight, always hindsight, that would have been a great shot to take, but only once they've got away from you. And obviously something that we've been trying to work on really this whole time is trying to get as close as possible.
Yeah, which I think we really haven't had any kind of shots or any sort of attempts past 30.
Yeah.
Most have been well and truly under 20, so...
Yeah. I mean, hindsight, what I should have done is actually backed out completely and walked down the valley a little bit more. Like there's a gully. They were pretty much on this corner of a mountain or of a hill. And I pretty much should have just walked around and waited for them to feed onto me, because it seemed like they were kind of feeding down that way. That would have been the smartest play, but that's hindsight, right?
Yep.
So we spent some time, we trekked around for ages, we walked a lot of kilometres today. In the fields firstly, and we just weren't having much luck at all there. And so we came back and we had some breakfast, and we're like, look, let's go after these goats again. And the wind had literally done a 180 today.
Yeah.
So yesterday it was blowing up the river, so straight towards us. Today it was blowing down the river. And
which made it very, very difficult going.
Incredibly hard going. So I don't know what we did first. We got down the bottom here, and I spotted some goats up on the hill. And I was like, there's goats there, and then there was goats over the other side of the hill. I'm like, why don't we go...
We dropped down on the other side.
Yeah.
And sort of went down onto the riverbank to see if we could cut them off, because we knew that the wind was going to be a bit difficult. And I think we didn't realise, like, sort of it was blowing one way here up the top and then blowing a completely different way down the bottom.
Yeah.
I think thermals played a bit of a part. So unfortunately, I think it took us not very long before we had winded those goats and blown them right up the hill. And
Well, remember we saw the two here, so we trekked across and we're like, let's just knock these two out real quick. Like, we kind of thought of it as like, well, we'll just get a lot of meat on the ground today.
yeah,
So we started trekking across, and we didn't put a reference point of where we needed to be. So we got across the banks, and we're like, oh shit, we don't actually know where they are.
Yeah.
And we couldn't see up to where they were at all. So we backed back out. It was terrible. Backed back out and started going down because we could hear the goats down in the other bend. So we started walking down to them, and then the wind just changed on us again and was sucking straight towards them.
yeah, it didn't matter what we did. Hey, it just
Yeah.
seemed to, no matter what we did, we were downwind.
Yeah, and
Cool.
so we found them. We pretty much walked up to them, and then the wind blew, and so they started to shift off a little bit. So we went and did pretty much a loop around them, which would have meant that the wind was in our face, but instead it was blowing straight down at them again.
Yeah.
And so they kind of just kept trekking on. And then I actually had a stalk on a little goat.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, we forgot about the other fellow. We were driving back and we saw a mob of fallow.
Oh, we missed that whole thing, didn't we?
Yeah. So
Jeez.
this is before the goats. We were driving back and Lawrence was like, look, there's some deer out there, and there's so many freaking kangaroos on this property that we always have to double check because the goats and the deer look very similar. The does, and the deer look the does and the kangaroos.
Does
look
and the
very,
kangaroos, yeah.
very, very similar when they're standing off in the distance. And there was actually, in this mob of deer, there was also 3 kangaroos around them. So
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's a kangaroo, dude. And he's like, no, look, it's got 4 legs. And it's walking on all 4 legs. And so we did a little U-ey and drove back, and they were far enough into the paddock that it didn't matter what we were doing with the car, really. They noticed us, and that was it.
They weren't too phased.
But the big thing was that there was kangaroos down the fence line that was the fence line that we pretty much needed to hop to be able to get into their paddock. So
Yeah.
we went an extra paddock across, and we jumped the fence there instead, which meant we now had to cross a fence line to get to these deer.
And we went a fair way. We did a hell of a loop. That was a
big
good,
old loop.
Yeah.
And then when we finally kind of got to the space we needed to be able to jump the fence was like square fencing with the steel top line, and all of the poles were star picket. And what we've been doing to jump the fence is literally just getting on one of the wood poles
Posts,
and like heaving our bodies up with straight locked out arms, like a dip sort of stuff, where you dip your body up and you press to the top, and then you just swing your legs over and then you keep going. And you just couldn't do that with a star picket fence, nor when it's a square fence as well, like you've got the squares in it. So we kind of just decided that we'd trek up as far as we could. And whilst we were doing that, some kangaroos winded us.
Yep. And then those kangaroos jumped straight into where the fallow were, and then that was all she wrote.
Yeah, the fallow were all on us, and yeah, they bailed out pretty soon after. And
It was interesting though, like they bailed in the other direction, and then they basically did a big old
did
loop on
180,
us.
yeah.
Yeah, they went all the way around, all the way back up the hill to cut our scents, and then you could see it as soon as they sort of hit this one point, and they cut our wind, and then just bang, they absolutely sprinted for it.
this all happened in probably, I would say, an hour. Like, that was a very quick recap of what happened in about an hour.
We were going definitely a lot slower this time.
Yeah, we'd slowed things right down, and we made a good plan. It just so happened that the kangaroos kind of spoiled it for us, unfortunately. And then you had this a bit of an obsession, I would say.
Yeah.
Like a dream to hit a rabbit at far.
Yeah, I just really wanted
Single
to
pin.
take a long bomb at a bunny, and there were plenty about. We could see them all day, and I just thought, you know what, I just want to do it. I thought it would be satisfying as hell. And so
we watched these deer run up the fence line. I was like, dude, there's a bunny there. Take your bomb.
yeah, I was ready.
It's your time.
So yeah, had a little stalk in, got into about 40 meters, and I thought it was a good shot. Yeah, it moved a little bit, and
well, no,
unfortunately-
remember, like you walked into probably 40 and then it ran across in front of you.
That's
and
right.
stopped in the wood pile.
Yeah, up against that tree, and
then it stopped pretty much dead still for a little bit.
yeah, and there was a little bit of like fallen log or shrub or something in front of it, and I thought I could just see his head sticking up above it, and I thought, all right, 40 meter shot, I can just see a rabbit's head. This is it. This is what dreams are made of. So I settled in, let it fly, and you know, it was a pretty good shot. It just wasn't that good a shot.
Yeah, I actually think what was the issue was is that there was a shrub kind of just to the side of him, and it sounded like your broadhead, which is a judo broadhead. So they have like these it's like a flat. What is it like?
It's
a
like
flat
a prong.
Steel prong.
Yeah.
With these metal forks on the outside, pretty much. So if it hits grass, it's meant to sit upright. I reckon what's happened is that one of the fork, like the metal wires that sticks off to the side, has hit that bush on the way through and just spun it. Because it sounded like the arrow hit side on, or it's hit straight onto the wood in front and just bounced high.
And I was, I think, regretting the shot at that point because that was I was down to 2 arrows, and now I was down to just the single one left.
Not to mention it was a two-fletched arrow.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the smartest shot.
I'm pretty sure the bunny moved before it even got there anyway because of the sound.
Yeah,
Through the air.
it wasn't flying as well as it should have.
And then so we came home, we had our brekkie, and then we walked down and we stuffed up those few goats and we did a big old loop trying to get around them. And then the wind just kept changing and we got to one point where we're up on top of the ridge and I was just like, look, we've got a few choices. We either back out completely and we go hunt somewhere else, or we just go all the way down the top of this riverbed, like at the top of the ridge, and then dive in where we were yesterday where you got your goat pretty much, and then we walk all the way back through.
Yeah, just trying to get on the right side of the wind, really.
And so we're like, do we, don't we? And we're like, okay, let's do it. And we took probably 5-10 steps, and then you had a good old fall.
Yeah, the side of the hill just went out under my feet, and I actually landed on my bow.
And the first thing you said was, I think I just broke my bow.
Yeah. I felt my elbow go straight down onto something, and I heard a bit of a crack. And lo and behold, that was my one lucky last arrow. Went and snapped it clean in half.
Arrow that was meant to give you all of this glory.
Yep.
All of the rest of the kills.
My only one left, my only good one.
And so I was like, because I came with a few extra arrows. I'm like, dude, why don't you go up to the house, like sight your bow in on my arrows because they're a heavier arrow. I'm shooting about 615 grain. You're shooting 520 there-ish. So we're like, look, there's going to be a bit of a difference. Why don't you go side in? And he's like, no, man, let's just go get you something. So that was cool. We came for a little wander. We trekked all the way down the ridgeline, and we saw goats plenty across. It seemed like all the goats were in the places where we didn't want them to be today, right? Yeah. Like wherever we were, they were on the other side of the river. And so we trekked down, and there was these 2 nice-looking billies, and they saw us, and they just looked at us, and they just stormed off and went up the hill. And then we kept going, and then there was a whole heap of goats in front of us because we had to drop down onto the river eventually. And so where we dropped down probably 100 metres before these goats, and so we had to walk up to where these goats were before we could cross over to the actual other side we needed to be on, because that's where we'd seen a lot of goats. And so we got to this point, and there's these goats 100 metres up, and they just winded us straight away and just started walking, just trekked up the hill.
Because this is our walk sort of on the wrong side of the river, trying to get all the way up the other end to get ahead of the wind.
So we can then turn around and come back
so
on the
we
other
were
side of the river.
just blasting everything with our scent the whole way up.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate.
I think it's probably 2 or 3 times that we sort of like come across goats and
then just take off.
There wasn't a hell of a lot you could do about it, really.
Nah. And so we got down the other end, and there was some that were on our side before we'd crossed over that hadn't been winded yet, or they just walked up a little bit further. And we got across, and I was like, look, do you think we go up high? Because we'd seen a lot of goats go up the hill. Mm-hmm. I'm like, do we go up high, or there's like a few goats back here, maybe we should just try stalking on them? And you're like, oh, dude, why not? Let's just go try it. So we went across and started stalking on these goats, and once again, this is like the rocky crossing, so it was a pretty noisy crossing. And we started trekking across, and we were pretty separated by this stage. I'd say probably a good 20 metres between us. Mm-hmm. And I was in front, and because you had no arrows, and so I was taking a little trek, and I had eyes on 3 goats, and I was walking straight towards them, and then you gave me the little kissy sound, the little one that's always good in the bush, just to stop people from moving too far. And it was very good that you did, because I could hear them, but I couldn't see them. There was two two goats just hanging out in the grass pretty close to me. It's like grass and logs and bits and pieces just in front of me. And so since you drew their attention to me, it was good because it meant that I started going for them instead. And I pretty much went, and this was pretty slow moving because they were feeding towards me, but every time they chuck their head down, I'd take a few steps on the rocks. And it's super crazy because you're unbalanced the whole time pretty much. So every time they look up, you're trying to balance and you're swaying side to side, trying not to fall or take extra steps. And I ended up getting up to this tree that was in the middle of the river, which was 33 meters from one of the goats. And then they just up and left, hey?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. They didn't seem to...
Maybe the wind swelled, I don't know. That's all I can kind of put it down to, because they definitely didn't hear us.
Yeah, and they didn't leave in a hurry.
No,
they just sort of like decided it was time to go.
Yeah,
and
so they started trekking, and they went straight from the mountain and went up the mountain, and then they stopped a few times up the mountain and then kept walking. And so by this stage, we were pretty bummed out, I'd say.
Yeah, a bit.
Like you'd broken your last arrow.
Yep, I was out. I was done.
And I'd just blown bulk stalks for the day, and I was like, oh, this is bullshit. This is nothing like what yesterday was.
Yeah, and it's hard coming off the high of that first day, which was just unbelievable, and then today it just seemed like we used up all our luck.
Right. You know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we started trekking, and I was like, do we go up? Do we not? My staff at let's just keep to this side. And so we kept walking, and multiple times we saw goats on the other side of the river. I'm like, are you serious? And we were trekking, and then all of a sudden I saw a fallow. I'm like, dude, there's a fallow. You know, where? I'm like, it's just in front of us. Like, I just got to get through these few little ridges. Like, it's like ridges of the creek, which means they're not really ridges. They're like little divots where water's just blowing it out.
Yeah, little washouts.
But it was full of sand, and on top's full of cornflakes. So I'm like, okay, I just got to get through this. So there was a big dip just in front of us. So I took my pack off. I climbed down the dip, took my pack off. You just sat down. You're like, I'll just wait here.
Yep.
Took my pack off, took my shoes off, started walking, and I got to this big old sandy patch, and it was pretty much like a big drop off of the sandy patch, or I could climb up on top. And if I climbed up on top, it would block my view from me to her. And I was like, okay, that's probably the best way to go. So I climbed up on top, and I didn't know, but it was just full of freaking small, dry leaves. So every step I took was... So I took probably, like 3 steps, and then all of a sudden, this goat from across the river just started spitting at me, doing a little sneezes. And I was like, oh no, what have we done here? And so she just kind of sneezed, and I'm like, she'll go away soon. And she was like the one that we saw yesterday. She just kept going. And so I was like, this is all ruined. Like, I don't know what to do here. So she kept going, and then eventually she walked off. And so I took a few more steps, and she was up the hill, and she turned and looked back at me and just kept sneezing at me. She just kept going, and she would not stop. Hey, she was relentless.
I don't know why either. You were on the complete other side of the river. You weren't anywhere near her. You weren't going towards her, but she just wasn't having none of it.
She had a bee in a bonnet for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of, I reckon that was a good 20 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe within
that was
that
a long
situation.
Stalk, yeah.
And so eventually she was kind of out of the picture enough that I could start to walk around. I had to get around this big tree before I could get over to where this fellow was, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's done anyway, but I'll try. So I go around to the other side, and I stepped on something that just went straight up in my foot, so I couldn't even walk properly. And so I had this bad splinter. I was like, oh, maybe it'd be all right if I'll just quickly try to dig my socks out. So I dug my socks out and took another step, and it just went in deeper. I was like, oh no. And so I'm trying to walk on one heel and one set of toes as I'm creeping, and got up to where the deer was, and she was just gone. It was just blank. I'm like, oh, that's to be expected. So I sat down and tried to get the splinter out, and there was just no getting it out at all. So I came back to my pack, and we sat down, we talked for a bit while I tried to knife my foot, trying to knife the splinter out, and couldn't get it at all. And so once again, we had our heads down, and we kept walking, and we were bummed out, and we walked literally to where I just walked to, and walked through the grass probably 5 meters.
Yep.
And 5 fallows.
Yep, 5 of them.
5 fallows just popped up. They were up on the hill, just bedded down, popped up, and just took a little wander up the hill, and then they just stopped. So I was like, oh well, no time like now.
Yeah.
So I clicked in an arrow and just started going after them, started trekking. I pretty much just put a tree between me and them, and got up reasonably close, actually straight away, but there was just too much forage around, and once they kind of caught on to the fact that I was closer, they just started trekking up and tried to get our wind and got our wind and took off. And so once again, we were heads down, walking back to the cabin.
Yep.
And we walked another, 50
meters.
And all of a sudden, this other fellow that was bedded, boom, straight up and walked out. And we're like, we got to change our game plan.
Yeah, I think I've never
ridiculous.
seen that many deer in that short of amount of time, let alone busted that many, you know.
Yeah. And so we came up, and I had to get a scalpel out to actually get that splinter out in the end. It was goody. And we were just like, what do we do? Like, let's go home. We'll have some lunch. And while we're here, we're like, what do we do? Let's maybe we should go for some deer, because the goats seem to have all got out. And from where we're staying, we could literally just look over the whole river and we could see the goats go up, and then they all just decide that they're going back down. And
yeah, so I mean, what was good actually is that we came back up to the cabin and we could see out across the valley that there actually were some on the opposite side. They're a fair way away, probably too far for us to access them, but
yeah,
made us think, well, you know, if they've gone up on the tops, especially like if they're on the top on the opposite side, there's a good chance that there's goats on the tops on this side as well. So I think,
but the way the winds were as well, we were a bit like, oh, do we, don't we?
yeah, it was very tempting to sort of head the opposite direction and go see if we could find some more deer, but we hadn't seen as many as compared to the goats, and it was a tough decision, but I think in the end we decided that we would get back down into the valley.
Well, because we saw them coming back down the river, like back down towards the river, and we're like, this is perfect. Like if we can get up, so what we'll do is we'll get up and we'll go on the opposite side to where all the goats are, and we'll do a big old loop and come back up on them. Because that's pretty much been our game plan for today, was do the loop around so we can get back onto them. So we're not facing the wind. And so we decided that was going to be a good enough game plan. We started trekking.
Yep.
And we got down one valley and up the next valley to try to go up over the river. And as we were walking, we both pretty much had the same thought at the same time, right? With the tracks.
Yeah.
So I saw some deer poo, and I was like, that's really fresh.
That's
fresh. That looks very fresh.
And then I saw some deer tracks, and I'm like, oh, these hoof prints seem like they're very fresh.
And then, like, bang, straight away, they just hopped up and fucking ran off.
Yep.
We're like, oh, there was literally that same patch.
Like, I was just about to say, oh, man, there should be some deer around here. We should slow down.
It was the fallow that we'd literally bumped just that little part before. And I think because we were in our set mode, we're like, okay, we just need to get around, get back up up the creek so we can find these goats.
Yeah, very much like head down, just trying to march up that hill, get up there. And
I think by this stage we were pretty tired. We've been hammering pretty hard today.
Yeah.
And so we were pretty tired. We're like, let's just move. Let's just make this happen. Like, I think we were both pretty down the dumps, really, because of how good yesterday was. But when we reflect, we're like, we just had such a good day, such a good day with how many stalks and stuff we had.
Yeah, I think we got up to about 10 today, which, you know, even though we weren't successful and the wind was a problem, geez, that's bloody
incredible,
good day.
Right? Compared to
bloody good day.
You've had how many days in a state forest without seeing things at times?
The longest I've gone is 5 days straight without seeing an animal.
Which puts it in perspective, because we've literally just watched goats walk up and down the hill multiple times today.
Yeah.
Come within 40 metres of them multiple times today. Same with deer, within 40 metres of them multiple times today. But yeah, so we're trekking up this mountain and we spooked this deer, and we're like, what do we do? We're like, let's just keep to the game plan. So we started walking and we could hear the goats on the other side. And so we started glassing the mountain a fair bit more just to try to check where they were, whether they were going down to the creek or not. And you end up spotting them first. You were spotting them a fair bit more. I think I was just in power mode. I'm like, let's just keep moving.
You just ran up ahead. I saw them in the opposite face, and they sort of were feeding off in a not particularly favourable direction.
Up the hill.
Up the hill, in the other way. And I think we got the rangefinder out, actually.
That's right. It's 270 metres.
Yeah, with a big old valley and a big old creek in the middle.
We thought it might have been a little bit too far for your single pin, so
That's right.
so we kept on trekking up the hill, and so we got to the top of the hill, and there's this big old bulldozer path that they'd made, and so we're like, do we just trek down, and let's just go as far as we can, and then we'll see if there's any goats along the way down the creek, and if there is, then we can drop down and we can go after them. We started walking. And we quickly came to realise that the goats were backing out and they were going back up the hill, all of them. So we decided to cut across because we knew there was a dirt road on the other side of the top of this hill. So we're like, oh, stuff it, let's just walk across there. And pretty much every step we took between the bulldozer track to the dirt road was just as loud could be.
Yep, that was a fair bit of bush bashing to get through it. But
Yeah. So we got to the other side and we were crying. I think we were just heads down again, like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, we've just scared anything that's up here anyway. And so we started trekking back and noisily walking along the dirt road.
Yep, not even a little bit of stealth at all.
No,
Just
it was dragon feet.
marching, yeah.
Like heads down and all that stuff. And all of a sudden there's this little goat just sitting on the side of the road and just looked at both of us.
Yep.
Looked for a little bit and then just went straight back to eating. So we're like, perfect.
Yeah.
So I started, you're like, he's yours. So I started taking some steps forward and you've ducked in behind me.
Yep, trying to get at least out of the middle of the road.
And he would just eat and then stop and look at us. And he'd eat, and each time he'd eat, I'd just take a few little baby steps, like a few steps, stop, and he'd just look back up again. It was almost like clockwork. And then it got to like, I'd take one step and he'd look back up, then take another step and he'd look back up. And I got to 35 meters and I ranged him. And I'm like, cool, there's a tree line, like, there was I just had to get in line with these trees and I would have been 30 meters.
Yeah.
So at this stage, there's a nanny off the side, which neither of us could see really to start with. She pops her head up. Did she wind us? Would have it been, or did she just hear us?
No, I think she saw us.
Okay, and
So I think she saw me trying to get off the road.
Yeah.
So I sort of ended up walking towards her, and she sort of just popped her head up behind this little rock, and she was well and truly 20 meters, but I just didn't have a shot.
Yeah.
All I could see was the top of her head.
headshot. And so she just starts sneezing at us and just wouldn't stop. And the guy that I was going after, he just would keep eating, and then he looked up and eventually he's like, oh, I should sneeze too. So sneezed and literally like sneezed, and as his head went up, he went straight back down to start feeding again. Like he was just more interested in food.
Yeah, his heart wasn't in it. He wasn't that upset.
And then the thing that actually ruined it was there was the goat between the goat you were talking about and the goat I was talking about, and it took off, and then I think the nanny took off, maybe, and then my dude kind of was like, oh, there's something up, I should probably take off. And so he took off, and I got to about 32 meters, and I was like, I just don't have a shot because there was a tree, like a little bush in front of his vitals. So, I mean, once again, hindsight, I should have taken a shot at 35 meters, but like we said, we were trying to get nice and close, so we were, once again, heads down, dragging feet.
Yep, another solid march all the way back, and I think that was stalk number 10 for the day.
Thereabouts, and so we walked probably, like another 100 meters, and I was like, stop, there's some deer.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of the road.
Again.
There's deer on the fork of the road, and they're just looking straight at us. I'm like, just stay really still. Like, we should be good here. And then all of a sudden, like 8 deer, boof, just up and run.
Yeah.
I think they were on their way out, and they were crossing the road anyway, and they were just looking to see if we were, like, what was there, and we were just making so much ruckus. And so they bailed out. So we walked out, and we got back before sun was completely down. We decided to go for a little drive just to check out the whole property, and we saw a few more deer, which is kind of nice. It's just nice to know where they kind of hang out. And so the game plan for tomorrow, last day, like really we've got a 4.5 hour drive at least home, and we need to be home in a reasonable hour because we've both got to go work on Monday.
That's it,
We've both got to do life on Monday. So game plan tomorrow is that the wind is back to how it was on the first day, which means it's coming up towards us from the river, which is really nice. Because we don't have to fuck around with all of that running around and doing bits and pieces. But I think we'll probably still go out and go for some deer, right, in the morning.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think that the goats get up all that early.
Like, we've seen them both mornings moseying down about 9:30 to 11:30. Oh, something like that. 9
at the earliest sort of thing. So I think we'll get up first light and sort of get back after the deer in the paddock and see if we can't have another opportunity like yesterday. And if that doesn't work, I guess we'll have another trek down into the valley and see what the goats are up to, and hope that wind stays in our face again like it was on the first day.
Hopefully get another goat or two on the ground.
Yeah, it'd be good to...
It'd be great to get a fallow down.
Absolutely, man.
It'd be incredible. I mean, after today's experience, I feel like we do have a very good opportunity tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've had great opportunities the whole time, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It's been pretty good, so...
we've definitely learnt a lot of lessons.
Yep.
A lot of lessons.
Number 1, bring more than 5 arrows.
Number 2, more patience. Freaking hunting, hey?
Yeah, that's what they say.
Although at the same time, like, there's been times that if we waited too long, we would have missed our opportunities. So
yeah, it's a fine balance.
It is a really fine balance. I think we've had a pretty good mix of the two. I think today what actually stuffed us the most was the wind.
Yeah, wind and just some long tracks that we sort of were focused on getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe not so much stopping and glassing as much as we should have. But
yeah, listening out as much as we should have. Like, I actually heard something rustling in the bushes when we were walking up and we saw that goat.
Mm.
And I kind of was like, oh, was that something? No, I don't think it was. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a goat in front of us. I'm like, oh, shit, that was something.
Yeah, it's so easy to get in that, like, fixed mindset that you just
got to get
you just
somewhere.
got to walk. And
yeah. Oh, we're almost home. Let's just get home or whatever it is. So, yeah. But, I mean, hands down, this has been an incredible trip, right?
Absolutely. I've seen more animals in the last 2 days, I think, than I have in the last 2 years. So,
which is awesome.
Yeah, good. Real good.
It's almost hard to go back to state forest hunting or go back to even the block that I've got with reds on it. And I mean, obviously they're different animals completely, so it is completely different. But, and I think within saying that, like, that hierarchy of animals definitely comes into play again.
Yeah.
Like, even if I was to get a fallow down, and this sounds ridiculous, but even if I was to get a fallow down this weekend, it still wouldn't be to me what it would be getting a red down. And I think it's because that's been my biggest, hardest journey so far.
And that's what you've been sort of, cutting your teeth on this whole time. And that's what you've been fixed on, is trying to get the red. So that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd be dirty at you if you got a fallow on your first trip anyway. So.
It's going to happen tomorrow.
I believe.
Visualize it now.
That's it.
I believe. Awesome. But where can people find you, Lawrence?
Where can they find me?
What's
Look,
your Instagram?
My Instagram is Lawrence Arnold _ I think.
Yeah.
I don't put a hell of a lot on there, but you're more than welcome to throw me a follow, throw me whatever. Have a chat.
Yeah, definitely. I think we were talking about this earlier, about there's a lot of people in the Brisbane region, like Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sunny Coast, who are looking for people to go hunting with. I mean, the hard thing is that not everyone has opportunities to be able to give hunting places. But I mean, there's also your paid experiences that you can go on. So, I mean, I think reaching out to people such as Lawrence is a really good idea, because you can start to get insights about, like, your state forests from a beginner's perspective. You can also find out, like, the route that he's kind of taken along his way of doing bow hunting and his experiences. And I mean, you've been a part of a club.
Yeah, that's right.
From the start, right? Because you kind of came onto the factor of having a mentor was going to be a really good thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Tony up at Grange Bowman. He was pretty fantastic in terms of showing me what's what in the early days. And yeah, we were having that chat earlier, weren't we, about mentors and how it's important, and how just having a bloke to sort of show you what's what is good. So if anyone's ever interested in going for a hunt, or, I mean, I don't know shit, to be honest. But,
well, I mean, like, really, we've probably both learned a lot this weekend just from going out with another hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not that the other guy was vastly more experienced or anything like that, but it's just having someone to bounce ideas off. And I mean, the biggest thing for me was watching how aggressive you got on the goats, because that's not at all how I go about doing it in the state forest. I feel like when I finally get one, I'm so cautious, because I'm like, fuck, this is probably the only time I'm going to see one this trip. I better not blow it. And I'm starting to think maybe that's, to my detriment. Maybe I should be taking that opportunity when it comes up. So
I guess you never know until you give it another crack that way, like with a more aggressive approach. And it was interesting, because I think I talked to some people offline about my experience with the reds, and they were like, oh, so you pretty, like, have you been pretty aggressive with the reds? I'm like, no, I have not at all. Like, I've just piss-farted around, to be honest, and I was getting winded every single time. So, yeah, that was kind of like my changing point. And so many people that are really successful hunters, and I think probably Jack Spinks is a really good one to go off of, because he is getting so close to animals and getting them with a stick bow.
Yeah, right.
He's like, just watch the animal. Like, just watch them and see what experience, like, what they're giving you, because they'll let you know if you're pushing them too much or not. And if you're pushing too much, just stop.
Yeah.
Usually they'll be pretty forgiving. Sometimes, depending on what the animal is.
Sometimes.
I'd been told that goats are dumb, so I felt like I had a little bit of extra give to do this time.
Poor old goat.
Poor old goats.
He gets a bad rap.
Yeah. I think going back to the hierarchy of animals, like I said, the reds are definitely up there, but when I hit that goat, and this sounds terrible, but I didn't have as much remorse as I feel I should have, because she got away and she was injured. And I felt terrible in the moment, but once she got away and we'd walked after her for like an hour and a half, I quickly was like, there's more goats out there for us to go and get.
Yeah, so what, you felt like you'd done your due diligence sort of thing?
Yeah, but even then, like, I feel like we probably could have done a little bit, I don't know, I could have stayed out there longer and just could have kept trekking, but really, we blood trailed her for as long as we could.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it was that factor. I was like, look, we're just kind of wasting time right now.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the pay to hunt experience, you know, like we're out here on a property that we paid to be here, and you want to get the most bang for your buck. And
yeah, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows?
Who knows? But look, I think we did the best we could with both of those in terms of blood trailing and the ones that we didn't get to recover.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I actually think they're both dead. I feel like they've both killed over somewhere else. I feel that we'd probably pressured them a little bit too soon.
Yeah.
At least, definitely my chick, I think we pressured her a little too soon. I think if we were to hold off, but it's only because I saw that she was bleeding out. I just wanted to get her down. But I feel if we were to hold off, she probably would have passed eventually. Maybe. I don't know, it's hard to say.
I guess that's what they say, patience is a big part of bowhunting,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's hard after that shot and you really want to go and do something about it, but maybe it's best.
Yeah.
I mean, all you can do is try again and give that a go and try and learn, I guess. Keep learning, keep doing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, any closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts? No. It's been bloody awesome so far.
It's been good fun.
Very, very keen to see what tomorrow brings, and yeah, man, it's been really great. Thanks for coming on out on this trip with me.
Oh, dude, it's been my pleasure, really. It's been so good, and I think if tomorrow goes really well, we'll probably end up doing another episode in the car.
Yeah, we'll do a recap if there's anything worth talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
It'll probably be worth talking about just to keep us awake anyway.
Yeah.
We'll be pretty thrashed because really, I'm fucking cooked. I'm so toasted after these last 2 days.
Big 2 days. Really big.
Yeah.
Gonna sleep well.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thanks, listeners.
Thanks.
That's it, guys. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Becoming a Bowhunter. You guys can follow along with the journey at becomingabowhunter.podcast on Instagram and Facebook. You can also head across to the YouTube channel, which is Becoming a Bowhunter. So guys, follow along. We've got a whole heap of different recipe videos up there, as well as different snippets from along the way, along the journey so far. If you guys do enjoy the show, please pass it around. If you got something out of this show, then I'm sure another bow hunter, another friend of yours would get a hell of a lot out of it as well. So please share the love, share the podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in.